I see tons and tons and tons of paper, money being invested on paper. They buy photocopiers, buy generators to sustain those photocopiers. And, you produce a paper in which people will sit on it 10 minutes and they are done, and the paper will be back to store. Then the paper will go back to garbage, and huge sum of money. While we have technologies that we can leverage on that, the little resources we have, so that we can put the money on buying inputs that are essential for students to learn. It's my pleasure to be here. Most of the funding streams that are neglected in Nigeria have already been mentioned. And also some of the foundation questions about funding tertiary education in Nigeria, like what do we need to spend? How are we spending? Why should we spend? Has already been laid at the appropriate foundation. What I want to put our mindset to, draw our attention to, we have other sources of funding streams that we need to recognize in Nigeria, like crowdfunding, like the issue of banks or loans, whether soft, etc. But there is also the issue of even the existing little stipends that public higher tertiary institutions, the little money they get, there is a very poor mismanagement. You see a university that is underfunded, but if you see the project they spend money on, it can be very funny, not directly adding value to what the university or what the polytechnic or what the college of education is supposed to do. So sometimes it's even embarrassing, buying vehicles, building walls, and what have you. So we need also to look at the 5.6% that we say is given to education in the public sector. How are we even spending that little amount? So it's pitiable that most of the tertiary institutions, there is a very poor financial management, so to say. The budgeting in the public sector is also a very big problem. The ministries that are responsible, the department, they will just give the higher institutions template that you don't exceed so million. We know that university over the years, it never exceeds so million, irrespective of what the university needs. So the little that is even gotten is not even making the impact. Then I also want to add in, as part of universities or polytechnics or colleges of education or polytechnics getting more funding, is they need to introduce niche or quality programs that have also vocational elements, not only STEM. STEM courses are very costly to sustain, but universities, polytechnics, and other tertiary institutions need money to sustain themselves. And the COVID experience has validated this in the sense that some universities in Nigeria have been given opportunity to start open and distance learning programs, which is very important in providing access to hundreds of thousands of people who cannot come and study face-to-face. So those universities that already have established those structures are leveraging on this in terms of interacting with even regular students or giving other people access irrespective of distance. I go to University of Ife on accreditation. When I look at the IT facilities they have, and I told them that, look, even the regular students, you can teach them online. They have the facility, but the mindset to say that, okay, why should we use technology when the lecturer can come to class? You have to be physically present in the class. You have to sign attendance paper. Sometimes we are not making use of the technology. And if you look at also our tertiary education, we spend a lot of money, tie a lot of money on like paper-based work, for instance. I see tons and tons and tons of paper, money being invested on paper. They buy photocopiers, buy generators to sustain those photocopiers. And, you produce a paper in which people will sit on it 10 minutes and they are done, and the paper will be back to store. Then the paper will be go back to garbage, and huge sum of money. While we have technologies that we can leverage on that, the little resources we have, so that we can put the money on buying inputs that are essential for students to learn. So we need to look at it. Then I also want to talk on the culture around education, especially in modern Nigeria. Actually, in northern Nigeria, incidentally, we are having a lot of crisis, and as has been said earlier, the foundation of the crisis is education. We have citizens, young citizens that are being brought up who cannot be functional in a modern day state, who are still are oriented to think backward. And they don't even have access. They don't even have access to education as we have basic education. So we that are educated, they can end up being a threat to us. So there is a lot of negative culture around, especially Western education in the northern Nigeria, that we in the education sector, we are trying to raise consciousness that this cannot be, and anything you spend in education is an investment to the society. But incidentally, a lot of people are not looking at it. So we are fighting to even change that mindset, that education itself is an investment on the individual, and it is an investment on the society. That education is not about state A having institutions, so why not also we have? It's about the citizens themselves. Let their life improve so that they can be functional, they can even take advantage of the benefits of the opportunities that exist in their society. So that culture, incidentally, is very low in northern Nigeria. And not surprisingly, investment is not so high also, because people do not feel it is something worth taking. So politicians, community leaders, religious leaders need to be on board on this education. They need to know that spending this money, that releasing money, that saving money, that making children to learn is an investment on the society and can stop what we are experiencing in northern Nigeria today, all the crisis which is related to education. I support the issue of reform. Without reform, all these strikes that we are doing in universities, I bet you they will still continue. But the reform we are seeing from government, actually the direction of the reform is also making funding very difficult. Take the TSA and the IPPIS. It has made the universities actually to become like beggars. Every kobo that comes into the purse of the university, whether it is school fees, whether it is charge for selling of forms or whatever, has to go to an account called TSA. And it becomes very painful and very difficult for that university to access that fund. And a large percentage of that money is being taken away. So it boils down to the issue of the autonomy. So it makes the public tertiary institutions, which are the majority in this country, they serve more than 2/3, I must say. But they are having problems in accessing the little funds that they are supposed to access. The IPPIS on paper is a good thing, but practically what we are seeing is something that is we have people not paid for months. People do not even know what they are being paid for. We were thinking it is something that can streamline issues of ghost worker, issues of multiple whatever, sabbatical and what have you. But the reality is not the same. People are just through the back door, through IPPS, are employed in the universities in the name of the universities. Some we don't even see them. So there are a lot of problems. No, it's no surprise that unionists are fighting such scheme. The same thing with the government financial management. A cover now has to go through what we call the due process. The councils cannot approve anything for the universities, and same thing with the polytechnics. So getting money and spending money has become difficult, and we know tertiary education is capital intensive. You are training somebody in chemistry, he needs lab input. You are training somebody in physics, you are training somebody in medicine or whatever. We need constant money. He's a geographer, he needs to go to field work to do certain things. So, but when even to access those money that is meant to him in the public sector is difficult, then definitely we're having serious crisis. Then the same thing applies to the public universities. Most of them, they are either funded, supported by fees or supported by the founders. How long can that be sustainable? It is not sustainable. So we need to increase the streams of funding of even the private institutions as well as the public tertiary institutions. Thank you very much.